Hi everyone! Today we're making quiche. Quiche is definitely one of the British favourites, but not that many people actually attempt to make it at home. But today we're going to change that. I'm going to show you how to make an amazing pie crust and really delicious fillings to go in it. And you'll be amazed how simple and easy it is. And of course it's going to be vegan and keto as well. It really couldn't get any better. So let's start. Okay, so the ingredients you need. To make the pie crust, we're going to need some ground almonds. So this is the coarse almond flour or almond meal. And this is going to form the base of the crust. And inside, we're going to add some flaxseed as well. So this is the ground flaxseed, and you can buy the whole ones and ground it yourself. But what I've got here is the ground flax seeds. And to give the crust a bit more flavor, we're going to add in some nutritional yeast. And we also need some coconut oil. And for the quiche fillings, we're going to need some silken tofu. So this will form the kind of a base of the fillings. If you don't have silken tofu, you could use soft tofu or the tofu you make yourself. The idea is to use tofu that's got higher water content. So silken tofu is going to provide that smooth base that's going to bind all ingredients together. And we're going to add some nutritional yeast in the filling as well. And I nearly forgot, we also need some almond flour to go into the fillings. This is going to help to absorb any excess liquid. So we're going to use the almond flour to adjust the consistency of the fillings. So here comes the fresh ingredients. So I'm using the ingredients I like myself. So some of them are interchangeable, but I say you definitely want to add some onion. We're going to chop it and caramelize it, and this will provide that amazing flavor that makes it so wonderful and comforting. And I'm also going to add some mushrooms as well. So this is chestnut mushrooms. So I prefer chestnut mushroom to white mushrooms because the texture is crunchier and meatier. This will give the quiche really nice texture. So I've got about 250 grams here. And I know this is less conventional, I know. I'm going to add some spring onion. I adore spring onions, so I'm going to add some chopped spring onions in there. You could use leeks if you want. It will give that a really wonderful autumn winter flavor. And also I've got a juicy big tomato here. And on top of all ingredients, you need a pie dish. So what I've got here is kind of a flan tin that's got a loose base, so you can lift this up. And this will make your life a lot easier when it comes to taking the quiche out of the tin. And also you probably notice there's some little holes on the base and also around the edges as well. So this will help the crust to cook evenly and not to get soggy because the heat can go through these little holes. I found this on Amazon and I've been using it quite a few times, and this is really handy. So I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I'm going to put the link in the description box just in case you're interested and you might want to look up something that's similar wherever you are. I just think it's such a good idea. So this tin is 25 centimeter and in diameter, and I think it's 10 inches, and the height is about 4 centimeter, so something like that. So if you use this as a benchmark, and you can adjust the ingredients based on the size of your tin. So let's make the pie crust. So to make the pie crust is really easy. All we're going to do is mix all ingredients for pie crust together. So what I've got here is 170 grams of ground almonds. So it's roughly about a cup and a half. So I'm going to just pop that in. And then we're going to add in half a cup of flaxseed, ground flaxseed, and then about half a cup of nutritional yeast as well. It just gives the crust a bit more depth in terms of flavor. I like it. And then we're going to add in about half a teaspoon of salt. So bear in mind, the salt I'm using is the sort of flaky molten salt. So if you use really finely ground salt, you might want to reduce that a little bit. So I'm just put in half a teaspoon of molten salt. And then we're going to add in about 1/4 of a cup of melted coconut oil and just pour it in there. And then we're going to just mix it quite thoroughly together and make sure all ingredients are blended together. So I'm going to switch to use my hand now. You just give it a quick mix. And it's important to mix it well at this stage because we're going to add liquid into it. And once you start adding the liquid, it will be harder to mix ingredients. And just kind of flake it up with your hand. Okay, now I have some water ready. So we're going to just put in a few drops, literally a few drops at a time. And start to boil ingredients together. I'm going to add a bit more water here. So what we're trying to do is to add just about enough water to bind the whole thing together to shape it into a ball. We just need enough liquid to do that and no more. I love working with dough. It's so much fun making it. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to kind of bind together. Okay, that looks about right to me. So it's not going to be a smooth dough. The texture would be quite crumbly, as the way it should be. And you might still have a few loose crumbs around, but it's okay. But you don't want to go overboard with water. You want that kind of firmness and consistency that you're able to spread it quite easily on a pie dish. And if you think this is fun, the real fun is coming up. We're going to spread it onto the flan dish. Okay, so here's my pie tin. I put a chopping board underneath as a base because it's got holes at the bottom, so I don't want the mixture to leak through. So I've got some melted coconut oil here. You could use olive oil if you want to, and just squeeze the tin thoroughly, including all the edges and corners. This will make sure the pie crust come out easily and nothing sticks. And now take the dough ball that we created earlier on and just place it in the center of the tin using your hands and start pressing it down. So what we're trying to do is to spread the mixture from the center and working your way out toward the edges. So don't worry if it breaks up and have holes here and there. You can just patch it up as you go along and it will bind together. So what you want is to create the coverage for the base first and then gradually push the mixture up to the edges to create a height. For me, I made this a few times. The quantity here is perfect for this size tin. If you find that you haven't got enough for the edges, you just keep pushing from the center outwards and then you should be fine. So when it's kind of equally distributed, what you want to do is to tidy up the edges by pushing the corners in, because this is very often you end up with really thick, much thicker than the rest of the pastry. So you want to kind of push the corners in and at the same time use your left thumb to flatten the top of the edges. This will create that really tidy edges. And now it's beautifully covered, the entire tin. And just take a fork. We're going to prick the base with a fork. So with my type of tin, it's got holes already. This might not be essential. But if you're just using normal tins that's got a solid base, then this will help the pastry to cook through. Perfect. And now it's ready to go into the oven. And now the pie crust is going to a preheated 180-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And you want to check from time to time and make sure it's not overly brown because we're going to bake it further once we put the fillings in. And while the crust is in the oven, we're going to make the fillings. So before we make the fillings, we're going to saute a couple of ingredients. So we're going to caramelize the onion, which I chopped. I'm going to turn the heat on. A few drops of olive oil. So I'm going to chuck the onion in there. So in terms of what goes into your fillings, you could adjust to your likings, but when it comes to quiche, caramelized onions is definitely one of the key flavors for me. I recommend that you don't skip it. So by caramelizing, basically what it means is to cook the onion gently till it's translucent and brown, but not burning it. And it brings out the sweetness of the onion that is so great. Okay, I think this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to transfer it to a bowl and allow it to cool. And we're going to fry the mushrooms. Okay, so in the same frying pan, I'm going to saute the mushrooms. With the mushroom, I just thinly slice them. And I'm going to just chuck it in. Mushrooms got quite a high water content, but once it's cooked down, it's got that amazing chewiness and meatiness. That's really satisfying. Okay, so the mushrooms are beautifully browned. I think they're ready, so I'm going to switch the heat off and then transfer it to a bowl and leave it to cool. Okay, so we're now ready to make the fillings. Again, this is really a no-brainer. We're going to literally just add all ingredients together and mix it. So the first thing I'm going to put in my mixing bowl is the silken tofu. So I opened it and removed the excess liquid in there, and then I'm going to just pop it inside. So I'm going to just break it up with my spatula to start with. And then we're going to add in about half a cup, roughly, of nutritional yeast for the flavor. You won't taste it that much, but it would just give it a bit more body. So it's kind of a hidden flavor. And now we're going to add in the cooked ingredients. So this is a caramelized onion we cooked earlier on. Just pop the whole thing in there. And the mushrooms as well. This will bulk up the fillings and make it really wonderful and tasty. And I'm going to season it with some salt. So the quantity you want to adjust as you go. And then some black pepper. And let's mix it thoroughly. And there's one final ingredient we're going to add in is the ground almonds. I've got about half a cup here. So the function of almond flour is to help absorb the excess liquid and help the mixture to set. And also it adds flavors and texture, of course. Just add in a whole lot. And you can see the mixture really thickens up, and it will thicken further as you bake it. If for any reason your mixture is too dry, you can add in more tofu. So you can use tofu and ground almonds to adjust the consistency of your texture. Okay, that looks pretty good, but there's one more ingredient I'm going to add. And this is totally optional for you, but I'm going to add some chopped spring onion. So this is my personal favorite. I say this is the fan signature ingredients for the quiche. I just think the flavors are wonderful. I absolutely adore spring onions, and it adds the colors, and also it kind of echoes with the caramelized onion flavor. So 2 types of onions. Great, now I'm really happy with this mixture. And now it's ready to go onto the pie dish. There you go. Here's our crust, freshly out of the oven. I mean, I have left it for about 15 minutes to cool. You want to do that before you remove it from the tin. As I have the loose-based tin, I'm gonna just lift it off. It's really, really easy. That's our beautiful, beautiful crust. Okay, so here's the pie crust. The texture is quite light and crumbly at the same time, but it's quite robust, as you can see. So here's our quiche mixture. What you want to do is to gently ease the fillings to the center of the pie crust. The pie crust is quite light and crusty, but at the same time quite robust, so you should be fine, but still you want to be gentle with it. And then just gradually, gently spread the mixture to cover the pie crust. I mean, how satisfying is this? You want the mixture to cover all edges and not to leave gaps, but at the same time, you want to be very gentle so you don't end up snapping it. This is a delicate operation, but extremely satisfying. And on top of this already quite perfect looking quiche, I'm going to add a couple of more ingredients. So I'm going to layer the top with some tomatoes. I just slice up beef tomatoes, and I'm going to just place a few slices on top. So I halve the courgette and slice them in thin slices. I'm going to just kind of place them in between a couple of slices. You want them quite thin. I'm literally improvising here. I always end up doing different things each time rather than sticking to what I know. So that's my downfall. Okay, so it feels like it needs something in the center, so I just cut up a smaller tomato. I'm going to place it in the middle. I did tell you I'm improvising, right? So whatever works. I mean, look at that. So I'm going to just drizzle some olive oil on top to give it a bit more flavor. And some salt as well. Okay, so now it's ready to go into the oven. Okay, so the quiche is ready to go into the oven. So you want to preheat the oven to 180 degrees, and we're going to bake it for about 40 minutes until the top of the quiche is golden brown. So I've carefully transferred the quiche onto a chopping board, and it's been left to cool for about 10-15 minutes. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Quiche needs to be eaten warm, but not piping hot. So you need to leave it to cool off for a little bit. And before we cut it, in the spirit of improvisation, I happen to have some Thai basil in my fridge. So I basically chop up the basil and mix it with a bit of olive oil and a bit of seasoning with salt and pepper, and create this dressing. So I'm going to just drizzle this on top of this already gorgeous quiche. So let me just do this. Oh my God. And the basil works so well with tomatoes as well. So can't go wrong with this. A few more leaves of the fresh ones on top. There you go. That's our keto vegan quiche with tons and tons of fresh vegetables. So it's time to eat, and let's get a slice out of this. I can't wait to eat it. So take a sharp knife and going to slice it from the top here. As you can see, you can feel how crumbly and lovely the crust is. Oh man, this is good. It's a big wedge. And the filling is set in the kind of perfect softness. Great. And transfer the slice to a plate. Let's just indulge ourselves and put a bit more dressing on top. There you go. A perfect slice of quiche. Quite large, I know. But that's the right portion for me. Well, there you go. A perfect slice of quiche for you. I can't wait to eat it. So fork and knife ready. The pie crust is so crumbly and lovely and so light. Oh my, definitely recommend the basil dressing. Let me have a slice with tomato as well. Here we go. So good. You wouldn't know it's keto. No way. I wish you could hear the crunch. The crust is so crumbly and so light. It's absolutely wonderful. Oh, little Dolly. Oh, little Dolly's crying for attention. You want some quiche? No, maybe not. So I hope you like this recipe and inspired to try. I mean, the key thing is to get the pie crust right. But to be honest, there's not much to go wrong, as you can see. And in terms of fillings, you can improvise, you can add things you like. But I think this combination of tomato and basil and courgette is golden triangle. You just can't go wrong with it. So I hope you try it. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you haven't already. I post things I eat on a regular basis if you need some inspiration. So check out my Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.